What's up, guys? My name is PJ, and today I wanted to talk to you about something very simple. It's so simple that I almost thought I shouldn't even try to make this video. But the older I get, the more I realize that the most important things on our spiritual path are actually not the most fancy things, but they're the most basic things. As basic as breathing. If you weren't breathing, none of you guys would be watching this video. So it's something we're already doing all the time, right? But breathing is one of the most important things that we can begin implementing into our lives, or rather, I should say, conscious breathing is one of the most important things, or deep breathing is one of the most important things that we can begin to implement into our lives in order to boost our connection to our higher self, to our spirit, and be more in alignment on a more consistent basis in our lives through the simple use of breath. That's how important breathing is, and that's how effective breathing is. So breathing was one of the first things that I began to implement into my life as I began my spiritual journey. And rightfully so. I'm glad that I started focusing on that, because to this day, I oftentimes sometimes forget and I have to go back to it because it's such a basic thing, deep breathing, right? But as one of the first things that I started doing on my spiritual path, it was to just bring more focus to my breathing. And I'm glad that I did that, and rightfully so, because breathing, like I said, to this day is one of the most important practices in my life that I try to be aware of. And when I first started my spiritual path, breathing was one of those keys or a gateway that helped me get deeper and deeper into my spirituality and in connection with my spirit. It really helped me deepen that connection and foster that relationship. And a thing as simple as breathing can be so powerful. And the older I get, the more I realize that the master on a spiritual path is not a person that does a lot of specialized skills or knows a lot of fancy things, but rather it's a person that does the most basic or fundamental things in the most consistent way. So in this video, I wanted to just bring our attention back to our breath so that we can all grow spiritually together through the simple use of deep breathing, or rather conscious breathing. So what better way to start this video than with a deep breath all together? So now I invite you to take a deep breath with me. Maybe close your eyes, inhale through your nose, hold for 3 to 5 seconds, and then exhale through your mouth. So let's do this all together now. Ready? Exhale all the air out. Now inhale. Hold 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Exhale. Don't you just feel so much better just through doing something as simple as that? Now, in this video, I wanted to talk about the simple practice of deep breathing or conscious breathing. And I know that there's a ton of fancy ways to breathe. You can do Kundalini breathing, you can do breath work, Wim Hof method, all kinds of fancy things that you can do with breath. And all of those have their rightful place and are very impactful and powerful. But in this video, we're not talking about all those fancy things. We're talking about the most basic thing, which is breathing in a deep way. Most often we're breathing in a shallow way. It's breathing from the chest up. And when we do that, which, obviously our breath doesn't necessarily go deeper than our lungs. It actually physically doesn't go. But when you breathe deeply, because of the oxygen that gets filled up in the lungs, it pushes, the stomach down and all the way down to your, perineum and your genitals, basically. You feel it all the way there. And that's the deep breathing that we're talking about here. That's the impactful way to breathe that we're talking about here. That deep breathing that pushes down your diaphragm and pushes down kind of your stomach, and you feel it in your belly. The belly breathing that children do. If you observe a child breathing, or an animal, also, if you watch dogs or cats, when they're sleeping, especially when you watch them breathe, it's so deep. It's, getting their stomach to come out and go back in. It's really pushing down their diaphragm and it's expanding their stomach. And that's the deep breathing that we're talking about here. And that's such a simple practice. But like I said, most of us breathe in a very shallow way. It's our chest up. And when we do that, it puts us in a very anxious state. We may not think about it consciously or logically that it's doing that to us, but over time, that shallow breathing, see, if you're nervous, if you're anxious, how do you tend to breathe? Right, like that, right? So that type of breathing puts us in a very anxious-ridden state. And when we're in that state, not only are we disconnected from our spirit, but even on just the most secular level, our brain won't function as effectively as it would if we were deep breathing. So one of the best ways to actually boost creativity, in my experience, is to take a few deep breaths. Anytime you have a creative project that you're working on, take some deep breaths. Allow your mind to open up, and in a sense, it's like your two hemispheres of your brain are now working together, all because of this simple practice of breathing. So breathing is so powerful, and I keep going away from it in my own life. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's too basic. I'm way more, fancy than that, to just focus on my breathing and try to like deep breathe and be conscious of my breathing all the time. But the more I progress, the more I feel like sometimes I have to regress, or rather a better word would be to revisit those old fundamental basic practices such as breathing. Now, let's take another deep breath together. If we don't do that in this video, then when are we going to do that? So let's take one more deep breath all together, because I feel like I need it because I'm talking too fast. So let's do it. Inhale. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Exhale. All right. Don't you feel so much better just from that simple deep breath that we just took together? Now, how does that simple practice connect us more deeply to our spirit, or to our higher self, to our true self, to God, to the divine, whatever you want to call that for yourself? But how does this simple practice of deep breathing connect us to that state? Well, in my experience, in my personal practice, this is the way that it manifests for me, and this is the way that it shows up. I feel like there is a deep place of peace within myself and within all of us. We have this deep place of peace. It's like a palace of peace within ourselves. And that place of peace is the dwelling space of our spirit. Our true self dwells in that place of peace. Now, I'm not going based on what's like actually factually correct. I'm not focusing on that. I'm just talking about the experience and how it feels like when I do this personally in my own life. I feel like that place of peace within myself, that sanctuary of peace within myself, within you, we all have that place of peace. We have that sanctuary within ourselves. That place of peace is where I feel like my spirit dwells. When I breathe deeply, I am putting myself in that place. So in a sense, I'm becoming one with my spirit. Because it's like if you have your personal self, let's say, the identity, right? Like the PJ character that I play. And then I have my spirit, my true self right here. My spirit right here, my true self, my true identity, where is this? It's in that sanctuary of peace, right? I'm here, anxiously breathing, shallow breath, all typical day-to-day stuff. Now I take some deep breaths. Every time I take a deep breath, it's like this PJ character right here is taking one step closer to the spirit. One step after the second breath, another step after the third deep breath, and then boom, they merge together after a while. And this is just my personal experience, and this is what it feels like in my experience. But what I believe is happening there is that our nervous system is calming down through our breathing, through our deep breathing, our musculature, our nervous system, our brain, everything is calming down. It's relaxing. And where are we going? We're going to that sanctuary of peace within ourselves. We are becoming one with that place of peace. AKA, we are becoming one with our spirit, with our true self. Because your true self is not somebody else. It's your true self. It's who you really are. So that peaceful version of you, that's calm, that's grounded, that's relaxed, That is the version of you that is the most true version of you. The agitated version of you, the anxious version of you, that's not your true self. That's not your highest self. Your highest self is, in a sense, unperturbed, undisturbed, at peace at all times. It's always in that sanctuary of peace. And that place of peace is always within you. You can be in a war zone and with bombs going off, and you can find that place of peace. I'm not saying I've mastered that, but I know Marines, for example, Navy SEALs, Marines, they have to practice a lot of breathing because they have to practice how to find that peace within that chaos. Because that place of peace is not an external place. Yes, we can go to a beautiful sanctuary externally. We can go to a beautiful place. We can go to Hawaii and sit in nature and relax. But that external place of peace is still, in a sense, a crutch that we don't need necessarily, because that place of peace ultimately is deeply within ourselves. And how do we connect to it? Through deep breathing. Every time we take a deep breath, we are connecting to that place of peace. We are connecting to our spirit. And like I said, this is a simple practice of breathing. Breathing can be so complicated. It can be so extra, for lack of a better word. And, a lot of people do a lot of different breathing techniques, and they're all very powerful. I've done many different breathing techniques. But at the end of the day, I keep coming back to the basics. I keep coming back to the simple, deep belly breathing. And this deep belly breathing has so many benefits. I practice Qigong personally in my own life. And my Qigong teacher always talks about how when we breathe deeply and when we hold it at the top for those 3 to 5 seconds, we're actually getting rid of all the negative energy, all the bad cells, all that gunk and yuckiness that is in our system. We are getting rid of that, and when we exhale, we are letting all that go. So when the breath is sinking in, that's why it's also good to hold it in. It's very important to hold it in for like 3 to 5 seconds instead of taking a deep breath, immediately exhaling. A lot of magic is happening in that pause. That pause is crucial, and we have to give our system that pause. So the simple practice of deep belly breathing can be implemented into our lives at any moment, right? Whether you're driving, whether you're in a meeting, whether you're maybe not as, intense, like, oh, close your eyes, not respond if somebody asks you a question because you're gonna do your exhale. Sometimes I try to go as hard when I'm in a social setting, but I'm like, dude, don't be that weirdo that's gonna do that right now. But just taking a deeper breath than you would normally in those kind of settings, that is so crucial, and it connects you to a deeper part of yourself, to a wiser part of yourself, to a more intelligent part of yourself, a more creative part of yourself that can actually come up with much better solutions to whatever problems you may be facing. So deep breathing is not only good, just in general, but in particular, before important decisions in your life, always take a time to take some deep breaths, whether that's 5 breaths, 10 breaths, maybe do a whole meditation. It's so important to relax your nervous system before those decisions, because when you're doing so, again, going back to the whole premise of this video, you're connecting to your higher self. And don't you want your higher self to be the maker of those decisions? Don't you want your higher self, your spirit, your true self, God, to be in charge of those decisions, those impactful decisions that can shape possibly the rest of the course of your life? Your true self is the wisest aspect of you, as your highest self. It's your highest expression. And that highest expression can be accessed through deep breathing. So anytime you're faced with a decision, especially an important decision, take some deep breaths. Relax your nervous system. And what you may find is that you come up with solutions that you didn't see before. You come up with answers that you didn't perceive before. And all of a sudden, you see a way through where you didn't see none before you take those deep breaths. I truly think it's miraculous what breath can do. It truly is a miracle, honestly. And it's accessible. You don't have to pay anything for it. It's available at any given time, and you can access it anywhere you are. Even Wi-Fi, which is another miraculous thing, you need access for that. Breathing, you don't need access for it. As long as you're not underwater or in space, you can pretty much breathe. So taking a deep breath will literally change your life. I had this realization one time while I was running, and running is actually what I used to not run, to save my life before when I was younger. But in college, I got into running for a little bit, and I realized through running and through breathing rhythmically and consistently through, the breathing that we do when we're running, through that, I realized that you can control your experience of life. You may not control the outside experience of your life, but you can control how you respond to it through just breathing. If you're going through a stressful situation, pay attention to how your breath shifts to that shallow breath. If you just change your breath, you can change your life. You may not change that circumstance right there and then, but you can change how you react to it. And if you watch my letting go video, which I believe a lot of you are on my channel because of that video is also very helpful in conjunction to this video right here, because the letting go technique is very similar to this breathing practice that we're doing right now, just taking a deep breath. The letting go technique, just like this deep breathing, helps you not necessarily shift the outside experience that you're having in this moment, but shift how you react to it and how you perceive it and feel about it within yourself. And when you do that, you control the circumstances of your life by controlling yourself. You're mastering your emotions. You're mastering your mind. You're becoming in charge of your own domain. So regardless of whatever is happening out there, you are in charge of in here. You are a sovereign being that decides what to think, what to feel, how to feel in any situation, any circumstance. So regardless of what's going on out there, you become a master of your own domain. And that's true mastery. And that breathing, that simple deep breathing, can bring all of this about. All of this goodness is contained within that deep breath. And now you guessed it. What time is it? We're going to take another deep breath. So let's do this one together. Actually, let's do 2 deep breaths this time, just for the sake of, getting that extra benefit. Now, keep in mind, we're going to hold it at the top for 3 to 5 seconds. Exhale all that air out. Now, inhale. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Exhale. Now, one more time. Deep inhale. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Exhale. Awesome. That simple, deep breathing practice can connect you to your spirit, can connect you to your higher self, to your true self, to your wisest self, to your most creative self. And it all starts with that practice of deep breathing. It truly is a life-changing practice. You can change your circumstances by changing how you respond to them. You can literally shift and create a different life for yourself through this simple practice of deep breathing. It is that powerful. And that's why I finally decided to make this video, because I was like, this is so simple. Everybody's already doing it. Why would I make a video about just simple breathing? But then I realized my whole purpose on this channel is just to be truly helpful and share with you what has been helpful for me in my own life. And I was like, how can I ever have a channel without talking about breathing? Something that is so simple yet so profound. It has shifted and impacted my life more than any other thing besides maybe meditation, which again has to do with breathing. And it's one of the things that in this previous few months in my own personal life, I've been coming back to a lot more. I'm realizing that anytime I'm faced with a decision, anytime I'm faced with anything, even if it's not an important decision, even if it's just to go for a second plate or, to have coffee or not, whether or not, I want to do a certain thing in my morning routine that day or not. Just taking a simple deep breath helps me connect to my true self, to my true essence, and hear what that true essence has to say about that possible decision. And it's like, do you really need another cup of coffee? Do you really need more food? Or were you just in that anxious, our normal state for most of us is that anxious, high energy, chest up kind of energy, that go kind of rushed energy. That is not our wisest self. Best decisions do not come from that place. And so when we calm our nervous system through breathing, we can connect to our higher self, to our wisest self, and let that guide and dictate our life. And next thing you know, over the course of years, as those moments and those choice points add up, you have an entirely different life because you chose from the wisest place within yourself. So you are racking up these wise choices, these smart choices that are aligned with your spirit, that are aligned with your true self. And next thing you know, the outcome of your life, the physical expression and the internal expression of your life, both the physical and the internal, how you feel about your life, has completely shifted to a much better place that's much more suited for you, that's much more in alignment to your highest expression, the highest self, because you're deciding with your highest self. And this is another kind of pro tip that, again, if you're talking about things that have helped me significantly in my life, this is another one. When you are taking those deep breaths, especially before an important decision, ask God for help. Ask your higher self for help. Ask whatever, that is for you, that higher intelligence is for you. For me, it's God. I ask God for help. I ask the Holy Spirit for help to guide me. So as I'm taking these deep breaths, as I'm calming my nervous system and automatically connecting to that higher self aspect within myself, that sanctuary of peace, as I'm visiting there, I'm going there, becoming one with my spirit, I also ask the Holy Spirit, I ask God, what should I do? And what I find is that I get intuitive downloads, or I maybe even hear a voice, not like a weird voice, like do this, but like it's like a whisper, of I just know what to do. I hear it or I feel it, or some decision that I was contemplating just feels extra right, or another one feels extra wrong, way more than before, and that contrast helps me make the right decision. These things can happen just through the simple practice of deep breathing. So I wanted to make this video for you, and I wanted it to live on my channel because it's so important, it's so impactful, and it is so simple, but it is super worth talking about. And like I said, you can go as fancy and advanced as you want to with breath, and as simple as possible. But ultimately, the thing that, in my experience, is going to come to your help in your time of need is that simple basic practice. And my Qigong teacher, Mr. Tom Bowman, whom I have some videos on my channel with, I'll link one down below, but he always says, after 20 years of practicing Qigong, which has a lot to do with breath in his practice, he always says, all that show and tell stuff, all that fancy stuff, I never use them. I always come back to the basics. After 20 years of practice, he always comes back to the basics. And he is someone whom I consider a master in that field, and he always comes back to the basics. So no matter what level of mastery we reach, we always have to come back to the fundamentals, come back to the basics. And like I said, a master is a person who does the fundamentals really well, who does the basics really well, and who does them consistently. That is a master in my personal opinion. It's not someone that just does fancy stuff all the time, but it's one that does the most basic, fundamental, important things, essential things in the most phenomenal way and in the most consistent way. That is a master in my personal opinion. So I hope that this video was helpful for you. And like I've said before in some of my other videos, I can go as deeply as I can in these videos, but they will never be personalized and specialized for you. So I have to kind of tailor them in a general way. But if you do want personalized advice, if you do want personalized help, which ultimately that will be the most effective help, because general advice all the time, although it may be very helpful, it may not be most well-suited advice for you at this current time, at this current phase of your life. So in order to give you personal advice, if you have any questions and want to dive more deeply into any of the topics that I just discussed or I discuss on my channel in general, please check out the link below in the description, as I've just recently started offering one-on-one coaching where I meet with clients one-on-one and we go deeply into what are their issues, what is, troubling them at this time, how can we aid that? What are some resources that we can talk about? What are some practices that we can implement? And all those things are things that I can dive deeply into with you one-on-one in a personalized way and help you find the best path forward. All these practices that I talk about on my channel, when they are put in a personalized program for you, they can become so much more powerful because now it's specialized for you. It's made for you. It's like a suit that is tailored for you, not just for anyone. You know, a suit that's made for anyone may fit you well, but a suit that is made just for you will fit you the best and suit you the most, pun intended there. So I hope that I see you guys within that container. Again, the link to that service is down in the description. I hope to see you guys in that. And if you enjoyed this video and the content that I just shared with you proves to be helpful for you, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up so that my videos can show up more on your homepage in YouTube. Again, thank you. My name is PJ. I hope to see you guys soon in another video. And until then, you guys take care. Bye.